Hi, welcome to the Crafts channel. My name's Corinne Brad, and today I'd like to show you how to use products that you have in your house for another purpose. A prime example of this is embossing powder. I don't know about you, but I've got lots of pots of embossing powder in various different colours and different thicknesses, you chunky ones, glittery ones, ones with weird lumps in, and I can't possibly do enough rubber stamping projects to use them in the manner that they're meant to be used. So what I have discovered though is because embossing powder essentially melts under heat, you can use it as like a faux enamel in jewellery making. So I've just done some examples here in metal blanks. So you've got a nice marbled background, and you can either leave it so you've just got that marbled background, and then while it's still wet, you can pop an inclusion in it like this brooch that's just got a brass, it's not even brass, it's a gold coloured inclusion in it, or a gemstone. But it is something that is going to get hot, and it is something that you're going to want to protect your hands with. So it's not a perfect project for children, but it is a perfect project for grown-ups with pliers. I'm going to start with this nice deep bezel setting for jewellery. And what I'm going to start with is some clear embossing powder, because I've found that most clear embossing powders seem to melt quicker than coloured ones. And I'm simply going to pour that embossing powder in there. And also what I'm going to do, before I forget, is I'm just going to protect my cutting mat with a piece of paper. Because if you've ever used heat and inadvertently put heat on your cutting mat, you'll know that it will make it bow, and it's not great. So if you hold this in your hands and then heat it up, because it's metal, it's going to hurt your hands. So stab yourself in the eye with your reading glasses. Hold it securely with a pair of pliers, and then this is where it gets noisy. Heat it with a heat gun. Do not, on any account, go like that, because all that will happen is that embossing powder that's loose in there will just fly everywhere. So turn your heat gun on and heat it from the bottom. And you should see it start to melt. And also when you tap it, it's not moving so much. So it's beginning to melt. Let's get some more heat on there. And you can see it going clear. What's happening is it's got hot enough that all of those granules have now melted. Now while they're clear, why did I put the lid back on my embossing powder when I need to take it back off again? While that's still molten, you can tap some more on the top, shake it about a bit, and it will stick to what's already in there. That's all gone clear. And this is where you can start to have some fun. But you need to work quickly. What you need to do is you need to have taken the lids off all your embossing powder before you started, but hey, never mind. Start tapping on other colours, which will start to melt because that clear embossing powder is still molten in there. And because it's melted, you can now hit it from the top with your heat gun, and it shouldn't, God willing, blow away. Some of this in here. This is quite a nice glittery, and it's got inclusions in it. I'm not sure what these inclusions are, but they do give quite a nice effect. I'm not entirely sure that that's stuck to that. I'm going to heat that from the underside again. Now, when you get to this stage, you could put it down. I'm not going to put it down because this is now red hot, and that piece of paper is going to be pretty rubbish against protecting my work surface from its red hotness. But hopefully you can see that swirling around with the heat of heat gun, creating that marbled effect. And this is at this point when you can pop in an inclusion, and you've still got a bit of time for it to cool down before it actually sets in there. So you can keep building your layers up. If you want to make it look really thick, just put more and more clear embossing powder over the top of it. And it does make, I'm just going to pop that there because it's still very hot. It does make a really hard faux enamel surface on there. One other thing you can try, this bangle that I've made here, which is like a galaxy style bangle. Now, this is wood, so it's not going to conduct the heat as well. So you can't really heat it from underneath because you can't get the tool in there well enough. What you can do, and this is another good reason for keeping a piece of paper on your work surface. Again, just be careful. You're going to hold this, you're going to direct the heat gun at it. Provided you direct the heat gun at one section of it, you're not going to burn your hands. Concentrate on what you're doing. Don't be tempted to have a conversation with somebody or speak to camera while you're doing it, because you may well scald your fingers. But heat the outside of the bangle. And I'm heating this to virtually paint blistering point. While it's hot, I'm just going to throw on some of this wow embossing powder with the inclusions. And where it has been hot, it's helping it to stick. And once you've got a bit on there, it will help more of it to stick. Just be warned as you're doing this, don't forget you've got loads of loose powder down there, that if you point the heat gun at it, it's going to go everywhere. And then you can just move around . Sprinkling it on, and don't waste a single shred of embossing powder. Simply gather it up, pop it back in your pot, and chuck some more on. So there you go, that's how easy it is. Now bear in mind that is still very hot, it's molten. Do not be tempted to put your hand on it. because what will happen is you'll hurt your hand and also it will spoil the effect of it. But I'm going to continue to go all the way around that because I quite like that galaxy effect. So I'm going to let that cool. So hopefully that's given you some inspiration for using up the pots of embossing powder that you've perhaps bought for, I don't know, somebody's wedding invitation or a 50th wedding anniversary or something like that, and then you've never used it again, but you've got metallic effects and you've got pearlescent effects, you've got inclusion effects and glitter and things like that. And you can make some nice, unusual pieces of jewellery with just like this fake enamel effect on it. So, have a go. Don't forget, use pliers, protect your hands. Don't ever heat onto your cutting mat because it will bend. And if it's a project that you're going to do with children, make sure you supervise them because that heat gun is as hot as a paint stripping gun. Have fun. I'm glad you came and watched us again. I hope you'll come and see us again very, very soon. I'm now going to go and wash the glitter off my hands and we'll see you next time. Take care.